FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and today is April 28th, 2017. Well, if you look at the papers or however you ingest your daily news, you know that cyber crime, hacking, all of this is a tremendous issue confronting society and confronting you and I as individual computer users. You have to do something to stop them from crashing, hacking your computer. So we are always on the lookout for people who know what they're talking about. Joe Parker is with us. Joe, you're a cybersecurity analyst. You've written extensively on this, and you are also co-author of Here's How I Did It. And we are thrilled to have you with us. So welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Kerry. Glad to be here.
Hey, so, media loves to sensationalize and to really play on your fears and get you crazy over things you can do nothing about. But cybercrime, I don't think they're being sensationalistic or indulging in yellow journalism with their numerous and frequent warnings, are they?
Well, unfortunately, no. Right now, cybercrime and hacking and cybersecurity are major concerns, not just for individuals, for businesses, and for the military. I mean, hacking has really evolved. I mean, years ago it was script kiddies and college students and hobbyists and a few people taking advantage of stuff, but it has really evolved. I mean, it's gotten to the point now where you've got nation states that have universities that are training people in these skills. They're sharing code ideas. They keep upping the bar. The amount of vulnerabilities that they're discovering seems to be becoming more and more. You would think that after 5-10 years of knowing about cybersecurity that we would have a chance to kind of ratchet down the code. But what's happened is the hackers have actually gotten better at finding these zero-day exploits, and they seem to be accelerating that. So the hackers are really winning the battle right now, and then organized crime has gotten into it because there's so much money involved. What they do is they reuse these exploits that are developed in these think tanks. Stuxnet was kind of like the first really big one that was super sophisticated, had lots of different pieces of malware and very, very complicated code. And once that got out into the wild, a lot of these people like organized crime or other nation states can take that, reverse engineer it, and now it's the new level. It ups the bar. So, that's one of the reasons why it's gotten to be so rampant. There's also now the dark internet. Everybody's sharing this stuff, sharing exploits, sharing, stolen, accounts, stuff like that. So you can go out and you can pretty much get anything you want out there. It's become $1 billion business.
Wow. And what is the government? What is the military? What's industry doing to stop it here, Joe?
Well, I mean, they are evolving their skill sets. I mean, countermeasures are being placed in here, and they're getting more sophisticated with their intrusion detection systems. But, like I said, a lot of it is not working very well at the moment. Like I said, you can pretty much assume that your network's going to get compromised at this point. So it's no longer about locking the door. It's about, once they get in the door, it's like, can you sense that they're in your network, and how quickly can you get them out? So that's really what's happened now. It used to use the old, castle and moat kind of strategy where you would, you'd guard the outside walls, you'd put the moat around there, and then everything in the middle of the network was kind of like easy, soft, and squishy. Well, now what you have to do is continue to have that strategy, but to basically make sure that everything inside the network is also secured, which has made it super, super complicated to, do things that used to be simple, just like patching systems or making changes to your system. Everything has really escalated the amount of complexity. So we have to get really good at finding these guys and detecting them. So that's why small businesses really can't do this anymore. They don't have the sophistication. They don't have the tools. What they really need to do is leverage the enterprise tools that are available out there. There are companies that specialize in doing this. And some of the cloud providers are actually really good at this. Now, I wouldn't recommend Yahoo because we know about the things that the failures they've got. But some of the other ones, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, the ones that actually do this really, really well, they've got, worldwide teams that concentrate on keeping their systems secured. So why wouldn't you leverage that versus trying to do it with an IT staff that's already way too busy, keeping the network running, and cybersecurity is just a sideline for them. It's not their main thing. So I suggest people, find a third-party application, enterprise company, and have them help you secure your systems.
Now, the concept of the firewall, that was going to save us from all of this. It really hasn't lived up to its expectations, has it?
No, the firewall was good, kind of first attempt. It was the outer border, and we would just kind of lock things down. But in order for a business to function, you have to open up certain ports in the firewall, right? And what the hackers have figured out is that if you can reach out to the internet, they can reach back in, because your computer is sending requests out for emails and for websites and all that stuff. So it's very, very simple for them to craft code to have it come back to your computer, put malware on it, and then they can then reach in anytime to get it. It's a lot of the hacks are still old school. It's emails, phishing emails. You'd be surprised how many of these hacks are sophisticated phishing emails sent to people from people that they know. And it's easy to spoof this stuff, and people are just trusting. They will click on stuff if it's interesting or if they think it's important. I continue to get phishing emails all the time, from my bank, from insurance companies, from, supposedly somebody important within the organization. So you really have to train your users how to identify this stuff and test them. You really need to do penetration testing where you send these types of emails to your employees and see how many of them bite.
Hey, that is a great point that you raise, because really, look, we go back to the DNC hack when the Democratic Party was hacked during the election, and John Podesta's emails, all 500,000 of them, kind of became public purview. And how did they get him? It was just a phishing exploit. They sent him a link. He clicked it. He checked with his technical people first. They said, no, this is okay. And then the next thing you know, those emails are all out there. So the idea of kind of having these hacking drills, if you will, really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's really important that you actively train and test people to make sure that they are, smart on this stuff. I think an annual training, cybersecurity training, which a lot of companies do, and a lot of it is like kind of check the box type training. That's not enough. People have to kind of live this on a daily basis. Now, I do, of course, because cybersecurity is my job. However, you can't be unsophisticated at this anymore. You can't just, be trusting. Because so many people are social engineering is just the way people get to you. They use technology as a way to do it, but it's still social engineering. It's relationships. It's things that are interesting to people, and it's our basic nature to trust. People will take advantage of that the way they always have, but now they do it in a cybersecurity way. So you have to be aware of what's out there and constantly train your people, and then put some basic safeguards in. The username and password is what we've used for years and years to secure stuff, and that's really, really vulnerable. We have to move to 2 and 3 factor authentication systems so that you're not one password away from getting into everybody's stuff. Some of the banks now and some of the other systems are getting to the point where they'll send you a text message to your phone, and then you've got a code that you can use to get in. I know it's inconvenient, right? However, it's way more secure than just having a username and password. So that's the price that we have to pay these days to be more secure. We have to accept it's going to be a little slower. It's going to be a little more inconvenient, but that could save you thousands of dollars if someone gets into your system, drains your account, gets into your emails. So you got to look for those types of systems.
Right. So those verifications, like I use it for certain accounting software where when I try to get on, it will send me back the request for a code or send me the code, and I click it and I put in the code, then I get on. Is that pretty much foolproof, or is there ways around that as well?
Well, I wouldn't say it's foolproof, but it raises the bar. Okay, so if you didn't have that, all they would need to do is basically, guess your password, because most people use their email address or a common username in most of their systems. And that's one of the other things I tell people is don't use the same username and password on multiple systems, because if they get one of them, they can get to a whole bunch of other things. Right. But if you've got that phone thing, so now they have to have your phone or access to your phone. And then a lot of people lock their phone down. So, it's not just your password anymore. They actually have to hack your phone as well.
Right. Hey, so talking about phones, because that seems to be a leading way to get access to your accounts, to your data, to your financial info. What's the best way to secure your phone?
Well, secure your phone with a password or some other way of, making sure it's just not, wide open. Now, one of the problems we're going to have in the future here is that you're going to see, tons and tons of malware for people's phones, because that's how we're communicating now. It's moved from, the PC and the laptop, where most people now are using their phone to get access to most everything. Not all the time, but, the majority of time. So we're going to see anti-malware on phones. We're going to see a lot more hacks on phones. That's going to be, one of the biggest problems we're going to have. But, secure your phone with a password. Mine uses a fingerprint authentication on it, which I think is pretty good. Those aren't foolproof either. And then the other thing is that, if you lose your phone, you need to figure out a way to wipe it right away so that other people can't use it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, no doubt. And does the same thing pretty much apply to tablets as well? Do you need the same type of countermeasures for your tablet? It's not hooked in through the telephone network, but it is on your Wi-Fi. So how do you secure a tablet?
Well, it's exactly the same, quite truthfully. The only difference between a tablet and a phone is that a tablet needs Wi-Fi to communicate, versus it doesn't have access to the cellular network. Most of them, actually, some of them do. But so there's like one feature missing, basically, between a tablet and a phone, is that you have, one extra way to get to the internet with your phone versus a tablet. But you've got the same applications. A lot of times it's the same operating system. It's Android, it's Windows, it's Mac. So it's the same type of thing. You need to make sure these things are secured, and you need to keep track of them. A lot of people have like tons and tons of them. I've got tablets that I bought, and they're just laying around the house now because I don't use them anymore. But if it's still connected and you've got your passwords locked into it, because a lot of people will have it save their passwords. Don't do that, especially with, banking and, sites that people could, do damage to you financially. Don't save your passwords.
What about on the iPhone or the iOS platform where it can synchronize your passwords between devices? Have they figured out a way to hack that yet?
I haven't heard of a hack on that yet. The Mac platform isn't as targeted. That doesn't mean that there aren't people who are doing it. And quite truthfully, if there were people doing it, you wouldn't know it because they're not going to tell anybody. I mean, everybody's gone into stealth mode now. So when they find an exploit or they find a way to do things, they really go silent and they just sit and they watch, they take advantage of it, and they don't want anybody to know about it. So you have to be careful. I don't know whether or not I could say to endorse that system. I mean, Apple's pretty good at doing some of their security. I mean, it's good that they're actually doing things like synchronizing passwords, and they're looking at that, because otherwise what people do is they write them down, or they use the same username and password on every system because it's too hard to keep track of them. I mean, that's one of the things we really need to do is figure out a way to have kind of like a password vault or some way of keeping track of your passwords, so that you can get into your systems in a somewhat convenient way, versus, using the same username and password or writing it down or making it super, super simple. So, it's easy to remember.
Right.
Or go to the 3-factor systems. Those are the ones that are really going to, make it much more difficult for people to get into your systems. But the other thing you got to look at is, okay, it's not just people hacking in. I mean, once they get in, they can do things like, put ransomware on your systems. And that's become a real problem. They will, get in and then they'll encrypt everything you've got, right? And then they basically hold you for ransom to say, if you want to get access to your data, then you need to pay us, money for this. And it happens to individuals. It happens to businesses. It can even happen to governments. My wife got ransomware on her computer, and it spread to my Dropbox, and it spread to, anything that had network access. It went in and encrypted. Now, luckily, I had some backups, because otherwise, they wanted 500 euros or something like that to get into it. And then there's no guarantee that they're going to give you the proper encryption key, or they're not going to hit you up a second time. So, having backups is really important. And don't just assume that because you've got, a Dropbox or something like that, that's going to save you, because these systems are smart enough to travel. If you've got a full-time connection between your system and your Dropbox, it'll go and encrypt that as well.
Wow. So this is really insidious, invidious, if you will. And just because you've beaten one threat, and you might not even know that you've beaten it, doesn't mean that you're really safe. It's an ongoing vigilance that you have to maintain.
Right. It really is. It's about persistence. It's about, making yourself smart on this stuff, and using the proper strategies. I mean, I'll relate it to, the book I wrote, the latest one, The Rise of the Chosen Ones, How to Choose Yourself for Greatness. It's really about, your personal beliefs versus strategies, and which one's more effective for people. And it really comes down to what you believe about yourself and what you're capable of. If you believe that you are capable of protecting yourself online and learning what you need to do, you go out and do it, right? Because you believe you can do it. If you believe that it's too hard or it's impossible, those kinds of things, you're not going to put in the effort. You're not going to be persistent and vigilant, and people are going to take advantage of you. So, you really have to kind of look at your beliefs on this stuff, and realize that your beliefs about yourself have more to do with your success in life than anything else.
Yeah, like that old saying says, if you think you can do it or you think you can't do it, either way, you're right.
That's very, very true. And people spend most of their time on strategies, looking for the best strategy. We go to business schools, we go to all of these online courses, we're looking for the best strategy. But what happens is you find that most people are not successful in these classes. Most people, the strategies don't work for them. And you got to ask, why aren't the strategies working? And it's typically because people have beliefs that are out of alignment with the strategy. Right? If you're not in alignment with it, it's not going to work. So the only way to make a strategy successful is to figure out what your personal beliefs are around that, and then go in and change them, because beliefs are absolutely changeable. We can change what we believe, in a second. We just have to realize that's what's in the way, because that's where the resistance comes. That's what holds us back. That's why we sabotage ourselves. Because we have a belief we don't deserve it or we're not good enough, therefore we are standing in our own way.
Yeah. So it's this idea, belief, or it's often unconscious too. It's been programmed in you since childhood, not to get into the whole theory of personal success, but I think you're right. They do go hand in hand. And if you're not aware that you have these self-defeating beliefs, or that you are really the master of your fate, then you're going to suffer as a result.
That's very true. You're right. A lot of it is unconscious. A lot of people don't go there. They don't, when they come up with resistance or problems or failure, they don't really ask, what is it within me that's preventing me from moving forward, versus, blaming the strategy or the economy or somebody else. They're always looking for, something outside themselves for their lack of, success, where really it comes from within. Anyway, if you want more information on my book, obviously go to my website, theriseofthechoseenones.com, and it could also be found on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, because these are the types of strategies that will help you be successful, to keep your data safe, obviously, because you're going to learn those strategies. You're going to feel confident that you can go out and figure this stuff out. You're going to read about it. You're going to become interested in it, and you'll take advantage of these ways to protect yourself better, like these multi-factor authentication systems that you wouldn't do normally because you just want to give up. And I encourage people, don't give up. Be persistent. Be vigilant. Take advantage of some of these strategies and protect yourself online.
Yeah, well, you have to do it. If you could tell people to just do 3 things right now to secure your data, your digital identities, and your internet-enabled computers, what would it be? What would they be?
So I've mentioned some of them, and I'll just kind of go back to them again, which is the big one is don't use the same username and password on multiple systems and accounts. All right. I know it's easy. I know that we all have too much data and usernames and passwords to keep track of, but it's so easy now to hack these systems, and if you're a person of interest, they will figure it out, and then they'll also figure out all of the other systems that you have access to. I mean, they actually really do their research now, so sure. Don't do that. Make sure that usernames and passwords are different across different systems, and find a way of tracking that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the second one was, I'd say, is, move to that token-based access, whether it be, one of those cards that you insert into your computer, a Gemalto token, which will, put a different code in there along with your username and password, or, the phone text, types of systems that we've seen. Those are very powerful, and they will put you on a level above ordinary users. You will be much more difficult to hack compared to everybody else, and they'll probably move on to somebody who's an easier target. Yeah, then the last one is back up your data. Yeah. You really need to back up your data in an offline fashion, whether it be an SSD card or an external hard drive, plug it in, run the backup, unplug it. You don't want it to be plugged into your system all the time, because if you do get hacked, if you get encrypted, they'll hack that, they'll encrypt that too.
Okay. And what about the off-site backup, like the iCloud, Mozy, and those? Can they really help you avoid this ransomware?
Well, I don't have specific information on some of the ones you mentioned, but I can tell you that, some of the things like, Dropbox and some of the ones where they are, cloud-based backups or cloud-based, drives, they create a connection between your system and the cloud, which is almost like a network connection. It's always open. All right. And those are the types of systems that the malware and the hackers are already aware of, and they're going to look for that. And they'll find it a way to navigate and either encrypt or, find that data as well. So it really needs to be an offline service. And if that's the kind of thing that's offered, then it will work. If it's connected all the time, it's really no different than having it local as far as your ability to protect it.
Right. So they offer like rollbacks, though, so you could conceivably get back to the point where pre-hacked system before the ransomware got inserted, but don't count on it, is what you're saying, right?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they've got ways of doing it where they can protect the data. I mean, if they've got the ability to roll back, then you're probably a lot safer than just having a copy of it someplace. So yes, I would say that that's definitely a better backup system than just having, like I said, a Dropbox or something like that you're just kind of, pushing files to or making a copy of it. So yes, take advantage of those types of systems.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. All right. Hey, people want to know more about what you do, where to find you, get your book. What's the best place to go?
The best place to find me right now is riseofthechoseenones.com. And that's where my book is. My blog's there. You can learn more about me and, look me up online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble as well.
All right. And if you've got any questions about this interview or any others that we're doing, send me an email to kl@kerrylutz.com, kl@kerrylutz.com. Don't send me any links because I will not click them, especially after this discussion. And find us on Twitter at Kerry Lutz, Facebook, Financial Survival Network. And Joe, it's really been enlightening. We'll have a link to your site on our site as well in the show notes to this interview. Hey, keep up the good work. Keep us educated, informed, and hopefully you won't fall victim to any identity theft, computer theft, etc. Joe, it's been a pleasure. Good luck on the book, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Gary. It was fun.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.